we're going to be discussing impact of information technology on political health of African countries.
Digital activism challenges state-controlled media by giving ordinary citizens a platform to share their perspectives. Social media and encrypted platforms enable anonymous political expression, which is especially important where open dissent can lead to punishment. This anonymity empowers young people, increasing civic participation through online organizing, self-expression, and digital storytelling. It also strengthens citizen journalism through real-time reporting and open-source evidence gathering. For example, in October 2025, Gen Z activists in Madagascar used social media and encrypted messaging to coordinate nationwide protests, showing how online activism can translate into real-world political action. However, digital activism also has significant risks. Governments can weaponize digital control to suppress dissent. Internet shutdowns restrict political expression, limit public participation, and weaken transparency and accountability. Because movements depend heavily on online platforms, they can easily be disrupted when access is cut off. A clear example is Uganda's internet suspension during the January 2026 elections. Authorities blocked social media and messaging platforms to limit activism, preventing citizens from sharing information and monitoring the electoral process. Overall, while digital activism is powerful, its effectiveness depends on access, digital freedoms, and government response.
Next, I will be talking about a negative aspect of the impact of information technology on the political health of African countries, and that is the cyber vulnerability and institutional instability. Since the majority of African countries are considered least developed countries, this problem is especially relevant. To sum up the problem, the rapid digitalization of society outpaces cyber protection and resilience to these African countries, and elevated threat to critical infrastructure, such as the electoral system, healthcare, finance, communication, and other key sectors. With this unreliability in the cyber institutions in African countries, the trust people have in the government could be undermined, and the growth of the nation could be impacted. The export of surveillance technology to African countries poses another human rights risk. Cheap surveillance technologies, such as facial recognition, advanced monitoring software, and targeted advertisement and propaganda, are entering the markets. With it being so cheap, they can be widely implemented. This technology helps authorities to track and suppress opposition voices, monitor activists, journalists, and oppositions while controlling media narratives. As a result, civil liberties are undermined and the democratic institutions are weakened. This can help the incumbent remain in power and enables a more authoritarian regime.
I'll be examining how digital information affects democratic engagement in African elections. On the positive side, technology enables faster election updates, real-time monitoring, and greater political awareness. Social media also allows citizens to act as watchdogs by documenting and sharing irregularities. And during Nigeria's 2023 presidential election, people used Facebook and WhatsApp to report delays and technical issues, while independent fact-checkers debunked false claims. Overall, digital platforms can strengthen democracy by increasing transparency and civic participation. However, the same tools that promote transparency can also destabilize democracy. Digital platforms enable false results and emotional charged narratives to spread quickly. During Kenya's 2017 general election, surveys found that nearly 90% of respondents encountered information they suspected was false online, and reports showed that online narratives intensified ethnic tensions. In these cases, digital misinformation fueled mistrust and political instability, and therefore amplifying polarization rather than strengthening democracy. So what does this mean for political health? Information technology can strengthen democracy through transparency and participation, but it can also weaken it by fueling polarization and institutional distrust. Ultimately, technology is neutral, and its impact depends on governance, regulation, and digital literacy. Without safeguards, the same tools that empower citizens can undermine political stability.
Over the last year, African nations have made historic strides in digital sovereignty. The African Union's 2025 AI strategy now provides a landmark framework for all 55 member states to harmonize digital rights and stop data exploitation. We see this in Rwanda, where the Ministry of Justice, UNESCO, and GIZ trained 31 legal professionals to co-create ethical AI guidelines. This ensures that as algorithms enter the courtroom, they assist human judgment rather than replace the rule of law. Meanwhile, civil society is fighting back against disinformation. In Ghana's 2024 election, the Disinformation Detection Platform and AI chatbots monitored social media in 45 local languages. Fact-checking coalitions in Kenya and Nigeria are now deploying similar bots on WhatsApp to verify viral claims in real time, ensuring everything is fact-checked. There is, however, a darker trend on the rise, the trend of tactical throttling. Instead of total internet blackouts that damage the economy, governments now intentionally shut down apps like TikTok, WhatsApp, and Telegram during protests. This weaponized connectivity kills protest organization and photo sharing, while keeping state systems such as banking online. This suppression follows a surge in deepfakes during the 2023 Nigerian elections. Sophisticated AI deepfakes were used to manipulate voter perception and create truth decay. State and external fact-checking services could not keep up quickly enough. With election-related shutdowns hitting countries from Comoros to Uganda in 2024, the digital space is increasingly becoming a battlefield for control. While IT offers tools for transparency, its current applications often favor state survival over citizen empowerment.
An important but often overlooked issue is control over digital systems, meaning who actually controls the software infrastructure that is shaping political life. Most African countries rely heavily on US-based social media platforms, like Meta, Google, and X. These companies are the creators of algorithms that dictate what content is amplified or suppressed through recommended feeds. This reduces national control over political information flows, contrary to a country like China, for example, where they have their own hold on all information technology and content posted online. This creates a form of digital dependency, where political discourse is influenced by external corporate actors rather than domestic institutions. This can lead to bad press or censorship, which will have negative effects on the socioeconomic status of Africa. What is less generally known to the public and investors is how resource-intensive training large language models can be. Data centers require significant amounts of water to cool servers and prevent overheating. Many facilities use evaporative cooling systems that rely on fresh water. As AI systems grow, especially generative AI and cloud computing, computing demand increases and so does water consumption. This water use is often invisible to the public. However, in parts of Africa where drought and climate change already strain water supplies, expanding digital infrastructure raises new resource concerns.
Next, I'm going to be discussing how e-governance boosts political accountability. Corruption is a major challenge in Africa, where African countries averaged a low score of 32 out of 100 on the global corruption scale in 2025. Throughout the past year, it has been shown that information technology can strengthen political health and reduce corruption when implemented effectively. Research done by Bright Kwado Aduro and Akbeko Abavad on Ghana e-governance platforms, such as the e-justice and e-procurement systems, have shown that they have significantly improved access to public information and administrative services. The study found that these tools enhance transparency by narrowing informational gaps between citizens and the state. Additionally, Rwanda's Aribo platform reduced bribe payments from 18.5% to 14.6%, according to the Rwanda Bribery Index, showing measurable decline in corruption, and this is a result of strengthened accountability from IT implementation and shows a tangible, positive impact of information technology on political health. Across much of Central and East Africa, fewer than 35% of people have access to internet. Yet Eastern Africa alone has a population of around 526 million people, which is the largest area in Africa, meaning the majority of citizens are effectively excluded from digital political concourse. When political communication and services are moved online, those without access to internet are silenced, which creates a political system favoring urban and wealthier populations. Information technology has also enabled new forms of harm, where online platforms have become spaces for digital harassment and gender-based political violence. An example is Yvonne Emabara, who ran a political campaign in 2025, where she faced persistent online abuse and sexist framing during her campaign. AI tools have been used to manipulate and sexualize images of women candidates, and anonymity online allows perpetrators to act with little accountability. Overall, instead of strengthening political health, IT can also have negative effects.
Expanding on Kevin's discussion of AI surveillance, African governments are increasingly deploying AI surveillance technology to monitor borders and migration. These systems can have a much greater reach and lower cost than human-operated systems and are effective at curbing migration, at least along specific border crossing corridors. AI border surveillance systems are often implemented without adequate oversight, accountability, or transparency, opening the door for authoritarian control if turned against citizens. This can be seen at Morocco and Spain's exclave land borders in North Africa, where migrants attempt to enter the EU. With EU funding and contracts with Western technology companies, the border has been fortified with AI-powered drones, thermal cameras, and facial recognition systems. Morocco lacks legal controls on data collected in the name of defense or public oversight over surveillance and implementation. Surveillance use is shrouded in secrecy, with public monitoring groups ignoring issues and the only information available coming from leaks and anonymous interviews. Meanwhile, the EU disperses funding with, quote, little transparency concerning surveillance technology use and few requirements in terms of associated human rights protection, end quote, and attempts at regulation face resistance from EU member states. The companies providing surveillance technology also deflect ethical concerns by arguing that they have no control over their technology's end use in Morocco. Surveillance technology represents a significant threat to political health, especially in the context of Morocco's authoritarian government and history of digital surveillance. The Moroccan government has been known to violate human rights and press freedoms and violently suppress protests, and digital surveillance is already common through methods like phone tapping. There is thus a serious risk that the surveillance technologies being developed and tested at Morocco's border will be turned on citizens, forming, quote, part of a suite of digital repression tools, information and communications technologies used to surveil, intimidate, coerce, and harass opponents in order to deter specific activities or beliefs that challenge the state. Additionally, the secrecy around surveillance spending erodes control over use of public funds and invites corruption.